What's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, I want to give you guys my 53-man roster projection for your Minnesota Vikings. I will say we had a couple of tough decisions to figure out who will make this final 53-man roster. So we'll go through every single player we got making the team this season, but there will be a couple of surprise cut candidates on today's show. But before we dive into it, if you guys could name a surprise cut candidate for the Vikings. Maybe it's like a Rondale Moore. Maybe it's one of the defensive linemen. But if you guys got a name, drop that name down below in the comments section and name a surprise cut candidate for your Minnesota Vikings. We're going to start off with the quarterbacks here. J.J. McCarthy is going to make the team. No shocker there. But also Sam Howell will be QB2. And we do have the Vikes keeping 3 quarterbacks. Now, obviously with J.J. tearing that meniscus last August, I just think it makes sense for the Vikes to keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster. And plus, reports are indicating that Sam Howell and Brett Rippon are going to battle it out for the QB2 spot, and I don't hate the Vikings just carrying 3 quarterbacks on the active roster. Now, you do have that new emergency third quarterback, so maybe they keep 2 and Rippon's just an emergency guy, but I would anticipate all 3 of these guys do make the roster. Now we're going to kick it to the running back position here, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, both locks, and I would also consider C.J. Ham a lock to make the team as well. And we are going to have the Vikes keep Ty Chandler. I was thinking about cutting him on today's show, but I think he's going to end up making the team just because Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason did have some injury issues this past season. And C.J. Ham, obviously, just being a fullback, you're not going to plug him in and be the backup running back if Jones or Mason has to miss time. So I think Ty Chandler's going to make it. He could also offer you some kick return ability. So we got 3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, and we do actually have 7 wide receivers here. So we got the main 4 locks, Jefferson, Addison, Naylor, and Ty Felton. But we were discussing on previous shows, we think it's going to be a battle for the last 2 spots between Rondale Moore, Tim Jones, and Silas Bolden. Now, Alec Lewis actually put out not contract projection, 53-man roster projection. He actually had Silas Bolden making it over Rondale Moore. I think once he gets more recovered from that torn ACL and we see him during training camp, we see him during the preseason, and maybe he's just making a couple of plays across that stretch, I think he'll end up making the team. And, 7 wide receivers is obviously a lot, but the Vikings have also said, and specifically Matt Daniels, special teams coordinator, they need to be better in the kick and punt return game. And that's where a guy like Silas Bolden comes into play. Like Silas Bolden, he had that massive punt return for Texas against Arizona State in the CFB quarterfinal. So I'm guessing the Vikings are hoping he can bring some of that juice there. But I ask you guys, will Silas Bolden, a UDFA at the wide receiver spot, will he make the 53-man roster? Give me Y for yes or give me an N for no. I also will say, I feel like over the last 2 seasons, there has been a UDFA wide receiver that all Vikings fans think is going to make the roster, and then he doesn't, like Tristan Jackson for the last 2 years. I thought, especially after last season, he had like 300 yards, 3 touchdowns in the preseason. I thought he was a lock to make the team. Ended up not, but I don't know. With the kick return and punt return juice with Silas Bolden, I think he'll end up making the team. But, hey, maybe you guys disagree. Let me know your thoughts down below. And we're going to kick it to the tight end group here. T.J. Hockenson, Josh Oliver, no debates there. One of the best tight end tandems we have in the National Football League. And then we are going to have 6th-round pick Gavin Bartholomew make the team. Now, we could have went like a Ben Urisic, who very well could beat out Bartholomew. I think that's going to be huge tape that both those guys put on display during the preseason. But we are going to go Bartholomew here. Vikings spent a 6th-round pick on him when they had very limited draft capital. I think he's going to end up making the team. But super excited to watch Hawk with a full year this upcoming season. Doesn't have to go through any rehab during the offseason, so hopefully he gets back to what he was when the Vikings traded for him. And then Josh Oliver got paid this offseason. Excited to watch those 2 play some football this upcoming season. Now, kick it to offensive line. You got the 5 starters: Darius Hall, Donovan Jackson, Ron Kelly, Will Fries, and Brian O'Neill. But then as the backups, obviously Justin School is going to make the team. Blake Brandel will make the team. Michael Juergens will make it. And then Walter Rouse as well. And, I will say some people were concerned about the Vikings' depth across the offensive line. I'm not really too concerned because let's just say even if Darisaw is not able to go week 1, you just plug in Justin School right there, or even let's just say Will Fries, where all reports are indicating he'll be ready to roll for even the preseason. But let's just say he has a setback. You got Blake Brandel to step in there. Like, even they're having a backup left tackle, a backup right guard, still a pretty damn good offensive line, because you would still go School, Donovan Jackson, Ryan Kelly, Brandel, Brian O'Neill. Obviously not a top 10 offensive line in the league, but it'd still be around top 20-ish, I would assume. But, 9 offensive linemen. Would have wished to keep 10. You always want to keep more, but I think they'll probably lean wide receiver or running back to get that extra position or get that extra player in that position. Now, we'll hop over the defense here in a second, but if you guys want to get some Minnesota Vikings hoodies, we got a sweet deal for you guys right now where some of these hoodies are up to 50% off. You just got to click that link, chatsports.com/Vikings hoodie. I got this link for you guys in the comments section and description of today's show. They have a ton of different great options. So if you guys want to pick up some more Minnesota Vikings gear this offseason, during the summer, hit this link, chatsports.com/Vikings hoodie. Hoodies are up to 50% off. All right, so the defensive line, absolutely loaded group for the Vikes. And also, I was going to do a show about this, but I decided to not get completely negative on this beautiful Friday. PFF listed their top 10 defensive lines in the National Football League, and the Vikings were not on that list, and I don't possibly understand how they aren't, because, I mean, the first 7 names you see here are all amazing players. Grenard, Van Ginkel, Turner, Allen, Phillips, Hargrave, I guess mainly the 6 guys, but I still think Jalen Redmond has a chance to pop for the Vikes yet again this season. But then we did go Bo Richter, Tiernan Ingram Dawkins, and then also Tyler Beatty going to get the last spot UDFA from BYU. And, the Vikings defensive line, like, the biggest question mark here is, how does Dallas Turner get on the field more? He's played behind 2 all-pro guys in Van Ginkel and Grenard. Now, does that possibly mean Van Ginkel is more of a makeshift linebacker instead of him just being a hand-in-the-dirt guy, which he was majority of last season? I don't know how Brian Flores is going to choose to deploy him. Maybe they just run all 3 of them on the field at once. And, Flores has also said that countless times, where it's like, I'm just getting the best 11 football players out there on the field where you can figure out what position you're playing when it's all said and done. But Vikings D-line should have a monster year. I think they're one of the best units in the league, and hopefully PFF regrets putting out that article. But kick it to linebacker here, linebacker room. Blake Cashman, Ivan Pace, both locks to make the team. And then our good old friend, Eric Wilson, who the Vikes picked up in free agency. He will be making this group as well. And Kobe King, you spend a late-round draft pick on him. I think he's going to make it. And then the possible cut candidate here was Brian Asamoah. Decided to keep him because of his special teams value. He was one of the better special teamers for the Vikings this past season. Forced 2 turnovers on a punt return and a kick return this past season. So I think they're going to keep 5, and especially with Cashman and Pace having some injury history, I like having depth there. But overall, I was concerned about the depth at the linebacker position heading into the offseason, but I think Eric Wilson and Kobe King, obviously not needle movers, but pretty good depth to have behind Cashman and Ivan Pace. And then the cornerback room, I'm going to have him keeping 5 guys. Zemiah Vaughn, it was tough to cut him, and that could obviously change during training camp, preseason. If he ends up playing well, he could easily just take Dwight McGlothern's spot. Or the Vikings, maybe they do cut Ty Chandler, and then they add a 6th cornerback here. Or maybe like Tyler Beatty doesn't make the team. They add another corner. But obviously Byron Murphy, Isaiah Rodgers, Blackman, all locks. Jeff Okudah, I'm assuming he's locked to make the team. But again, if he doesn't play well, they're in August. Maybe the Vikes could cut him. But, hey, UDFA Dwight McGlothern. Watch out for him. He was making plays last year. Excited to see if he could develop into anything special for the Vikes. And, safety depth chart, we're not going to keep – I should have told Dylan this. You would have got a kick out of this. Vikings 2 years ago had 7 safeties on their roster. And I think that was just Brian Flores when he was coming in. He's like, hey, I just need more safeties out there. But we are going to have them only keep 4. Harrison Smith, Josh Metellus, Theo Jackson, and Jay Ward. Now, depth at safety could possibly be an issue. You're running 3 safeties, 97% of plays. Maybe that gets reduced this upcoming season. But we will have Jay Ward there. Vikings drafted him 2 drafts ago, and maybe they hope he could develop into something. But Jay Ward was also good on special teams as well this past season, especially on the punt unit. But Harrison Smith, Metellus, Jackson, expecting big things from them. Honestly, any safety for the Vikings playing under Flores, they're probably going to have good years. So, kickers and special teams, no shockers. Running back the same three that we had last season: Will Reichard, Ryan Wright, and Andrew DePaula. Shout out to DePaula, long snapper, 2-time All-Pro. Special teams players matter as well. But, Will Reichard hopefully bounces back from that leg injury. We were talking about it on a show yesterday, how he was like 19 of 19 on extra points and field goals before he got hurt, and then he was like 10 of 16 on field goals after he got hurt. Ryan Wright, he was terrible his first year punting for the Vikes. Last year, a lot better. Maybe they bring in somebody for competition, but they also just signed him to a 1-year deal. I'm assuming he's going to be the punter for the Vikes this upcoming year. But hey, 6'5", 245-pound punter. I love watching Ryan Wright out there. But also, hopefully, we don't see him too much this upcoming season. But that's our 53-man roster projection. We'll obviously do one of these probably every week during the preseason, just to get you guys an updated look. But we appreciate all of you guys watching today's show. And if you guys made it to the end, hit me with a skull down below in the comments section. And we'll see y'all next time. As always, let's go Vikes.